Changes?
Yes, we haven't had a motion yet, but I'd like to table the minutes to next meeting. We're missing on the last page, the time of our non-public session. I believe that was information, Paul, you
He has
would
it.
need, so that's the only change I would see. Also, a question. In the past, we've also produced separate meetings just for non-public session. Is that something we should be doing?
We were supposed to, yes.
Yeah, we can probably include them. I don't know if there's any action taken, but I will go back and research that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So we have a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
I would have to abstain.
You don't have to abstain
No, so would here.
if you've read it.
It's just a motion to table.
Okay. Let's see. Consent agenda on the back of our
Make a motion
Agenda?
to accept the consent agenda for August 28th.
Second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? The ayes have it. 5-0. Informational. So we'll skip down to B, water and sewer access fees. Levitas and Franks. Gentlemen, you're here to comment?
Hi everyone, I think most people are familiar with me. I'm John Levatis. I'm working on the Levatis. I'm used to it at this point, but it's pretty good.
We'll get it right from
If we
you.
switch the I and the A, then we've got it. Anyways, I think most people, at least all of you, are familiar with me and why we're here to talk about the fees. I think the first thing I'd like to do is acknowledge that there is a lawsuit between us, and I'd first like to understand for everyone else that this lawsuit, from our perspective, was our only way to get information and answers about these fees and why we're being charged for them. I'd say the last thing we want to be in is a lawsuit. And what we're trying to do is work shoulder to shoulder to figure this out. And I think at this stage we just feel like we're not getting the same response back. And candidly, the reason I'm here tonight is that I think it's your policy that you don't speak publicly about ongoing lawsuits. And so what I want to acknowledge is that we want to figure this out. We've been trying to figure this out. There's been a change in town manager, and I think this is an opportunity for us to figure it out. And in the end, I'd like to me, it's math. We are talking about $260,000 in water and sewer fees that were not listed on the website between our two projects, and we have the ability to bring $1 million to the town for our projects. So to me, and we're not even asking to not pay a fee. We're still willing to pay a fee. And to me, it's $260 or a little over $1 million. So we're talking almost $800,000 that we feel like there's not an open discourse about to understanding what that means for the town and what we're trying to bring to the town. And instead, it seems that there's a little bit of we shouldn't work with them because they don't, for whatever reason. And all we want to do is work shoulder to shoulder. As I've said many times since I've been here for over a year, these projects are all over budget. Interest rates have gone up. Costs have gone up. Labor is at a shortage. There is significant cost issues that are happening in every single housing project in the state and across the border in Vermont. And all we're trying to do is lower these fees that we still have not been told what they're for, why they're this much. We're working on projects in Hanover and Lebanon. Those fees are less than Newport. He's working on other projects that are, a fraction of the fees. And my frustration lies in that we just haven't been able to get information and to have an open conversation. And I'll tell you, I'll speak for myself. I've been ready to end this lawsuit since the day it started. And all we are trying to do is find a fee structure that works for both sides so that we can bring, again, $1 million to Newport. I'm going to say it again, $1 million. And that's where my head's at, and I just haven't had anyone explain to me why there's no discussion about the value of that additional money. And I know there's a lot of discussion about setting bad precedent. I don't think we're setting a bad precedent if we bring $1 million to Newport that can be used for the school bus issue, for water and sewer, to lower local people's water and sewer bills. It could be used for anything. And so I'm here just to acknowledge that I want this lawsuit to end. I want to work with all of you to figure this out so we can build this project, which we're going to close on in a month, and move forward with. And to me, we can either work together or we're not, and we'll pay the fee, but I don't have the time or the legal bills or anything else to bring, for my project, $700,000 to Newport. The other side isn't willing to work. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. For the record, Jack Franks, Avenue Redevelopment Group, here tonight with a hat in hand again to talk with you guys about what's going on here. I'll echo what John has to say. We don't want to fight with anybody. Okay. We came here back in June, in May, and we came here with the attorney, our attorney who spoke briefly, but we came here with our civil engineer, and I'm going to read from your minutes. The board voted unanimously by roll call vote to take the proposed presented under further advisement and to do further research on the information provided. So we gave you what we had for information that night. The attorneys, we're going to get you folks some more information. We went into non-public. 9:52, motion by the select board. Burrows, second by Chair McConnell. The board voted unanimously to exit non-public session at 9:52. On a motion by Selectman Burrows, seconded by Kessler, the board voted unanimously to affirm their previous position relative to offering a 33% reduce of water eligible fees for housing projects. Adjournment, 9:53. We left here in good faith that night, guys. We left here in good faith that you guys were going to give us the time to get you the information. You didn't even give us a day. You give us 2 days to get the information from the attorneys that we all agreed to. You just voted on it that night and said, no, it's going to be this much and that's all there is to it. That's not working with us. You just went completely against what you said you were going to do 25 or 30 minutes earlier. Now, I don't know who it was that pressed that issue. I don't know if it was previous town manager or was this a discussion amongst you guys. But quite frankly, I was pretty incensed the next day we got that email from Hunter Reisberg. We were working diligently to pull together the RSAs to work with you here to come up with a plan to move forward. And we got sideswiped. We didn't even have the opportunity to give you the information that you agreed to accept. So pretty upset about that, quite frankly, when you come out of non-public like that and then make a move after we leave. So part of the reason why I'm here tonight is just to set the record straight on that. I instructed the attorneys to write a letter to Invest in Age. I did. Why? Because you were in the process of getting $420,000, which hasn't come. 420 plus 580 is $1 million. And we told you we'd be willing to work with you on that. Town's going to have $1 million because we decided to spend $35 million in your community. And you're going to forego that $1 million for potentially $260,000. I'm going to tell you straight up, guys, I feel pretty confident about where we are in this process with regard to this lawsuit. I think there's a real risk that you're going to lose the 260 as well. And I don't want to have that happen. What I want to do, and what John wants to do, is we want to be good stewards of this potential investment and work with you. We want the town to get to $1 million. We want to be good stewards of that money. But it's awful hard when we're at opposite ends of the spectrum here on, who's in charge and what we're going to do. It seems like there's some, potential hubris involved here. I mean, we're going to do what you tell us to do. That's not what we want. We want to work with you. We want to make this happen so that the town can get this $1 million of grant money. I came in, and quite frankly, I want to publicly thank you, Paul, for taking the time to sit down with me, to be kind, to be a complete gentleman. I didn't receive that for 2.5 years here from the previous town manager. Very difficult to deal with. I'm working on a 17-acre parcel up the street. Upwards of $70 million of investment in your community. It's 96 units of senior housing, 40 to 60 condos for Dartmouth Medical Center and for Ruger. At that time, had a grocery store, one you all know, that was ready to build a 35,000 square foot facility up here. Brewery, steakhouse, and another restaurant ready to come in. And I couldn't get the previous town manager to work with us on a CDBG, lied to us repeatedly about supporting it, pulled the wool out from underneath us, rug out from underneath us numerous times. That time, this guy, me, we believe in this community. We really do. We're not just saying it. We're here putting our money where our mouth is. We believe in this community, and we want to do what we can. I wouldn't be here if those fees were disclosed up front. Neither would he, but they weren't. They weren't on the website. We had no idea about any of this. But we had to fight with the town manager to bring money to your community, to spend it in your community. It's unbelievable. I can't for the life of me understand why we're even here having this discussion. We spent $35 million in your community to get a chance to grab a $1 million grant. I came in and talked to Paul about a TIF district up there in the end of town. You know, just from the housing side of this, we could generate $350,000 a year. You could help us put that infrastructure in out there for the sewer, because Ruger brought out the water. And you have $350,000 annually in perpetuity, plus the grocery store, plus the commercial side. Raise $500,000 annually. You could get a $4 or $5 million bond. You put in a $750,000 for the sewer out there. You get another $4 million, guys, to upgrade your town. All because we want to spend money in your community, being good partners with you folks. I'm sad that we're even here. I'm sad that we even have to come in to chat about this. I would think that, you know, common sense amongst all of us together collectively as a team, as a community, you know, would prevail here. I like me don't understand why, you know, we're paying attorneys to fight a battle that doesn't need to be fought. And you know, there's two types of attorneys out there. There's the ones that want to solve problems, and one that want to continue to milk the cow. And it seems like we're in a position where, you know, we're going to continue to spend money. I don't want to see that happen to the town. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see you lose out on $1 million. Sean doesn't want to see you lose out on $1 million. Fees are unbelievable, guys. $260,000. You double what Hanover's charging, double what Lebanon's charging. And when I came in here, I told you that Hillsborough's $7,500 for water sewer. I made a mistake. My $18,000 I paid in Swansea included the building permit, which was most of it. Walpole's about $5,000. So I don't know how you got from where you were to where you are on these fees and the cost of the sewer here, but add more people to it and bringing in $1 million, as John and I are hoping to do, and possibly bringing in, you know, a $4 million TIF, $5 million TIF, you know, for the community. It's going to go a long way to ailing some of the issues that the town faces from an infrastructure problem. We'll be your biggest fans, your biggest advocates. We'll be your partners in trying to make, you know, this a better situation for all in hand. But that has to happen, you know, by sitting down like gentlemen and communicating together to work to find solutions. We felt when we didn't get an opportunity to even get you the documentation that you said you would be willing to accept, we felt just shut out. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak to the comment you made about being blindsided in the news. I understand your position on that now, but just so that you're aware, this letter that went to InvestNH was given to the previous town manager. It was emailed to your attorney. It was emailed to your attorney by the email address that was given to us by your town manager. Our attorney called your attorney repeatedly, fellas, repeatedly, and heard crickets, nothing. We sent this on June 8th. You had it on June 8th or June 9th. On the 14th of June, we filed the lawsuit. On the 26th, we received the summons. Your attorney was emailed all of that to find out afterwards that the attorney, we had the wrong email address, but it was provided to us from your town manager. But again, our attorney kept calling your attorney half a dozen times or more. Hey, you're going to respond. Hey, you're going to respond. Finally figured out that your then town manager, we had the email, gave us the wrong email address for your attorney. But we, in good faith, waited 12 days past the time this was filed before the summons came, before we gave to the press. So from our perspective, we had called your town manager, we had emailed your town manager, we had emailed your attorney with what was provided. We called your attorney repeatedly, and we got nothing. So we sent it to the paper. That's how this all shook out. We didn't want this to hit the papers. We didn't want this to go that way, but it went that way because of the information that we were provided. From June 8th to the 26th is nearly 3 weeks, and we communicated repeatedly with counsel on your end, and we heard nothing. So, we could only assume at that point, Mr. Chairman, that the folks didn't want to hear from us that this was all going to go the way it was going to go, and there was nothing more to do about it. I don't blame you for being upset, and I don't blame you for scolding me. I'm a big boy, I can take it. But the truth of the matter is, Mr. Chairman, is that we tried, and we tried repeatedly. And so, for that, I hope you'll accept my apology for not knowing that we had the wrong email address. But again, we used the one that was provided. So here we are, about ready to, hopefully do some siding over there. John's about ready to get closed. We're both underwater financially because the projects have gone up, their interest rates have gone up, and we'd like to find a solution. But if we can't find a solution, it's going to continue to take the course that it's on, and I think there's only going to be losers. There's going to be no winners. None. We're going to lose time, we're going to lose money, you're going to lose time, you're going to lose money. But from our perspective, being asked to pay something we had no idea we had to pay, had no clue. And I don't think you'll find anywhere in any of the correspondence to me from any town official that there were any of these fees prior to us closing. And we had no idea, none. So I don't know what else to say except I hope that common sense prevails. I hope that somewhere through all of this we can find common ground that's fair and equitable. I hope that there's an opportunity to discuss this like gentlemen and find a solution and figure out what we can do together collectively as a team to make Newport a thriving, a more thriving community with amenities and opportunities that wouldn't be there without collaboration, without working together as a team. So with that, again, I'd like to thank you, Paul, for breath of fresh air, fellas. All I'm going to say is that it's been very difficult here for the last few years and trying to get through stuff, but if you can talk him into staying a little longer before you let him go, that'd be good. Stop right there? Okay. I'd appreciate it. But thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight. I hope there's an opportunity to resolve this, but I figured I'd come and give it one more chance. So, one more.
Generally, we don't speak on this
Yes.
because it's a legal issue.
Got it.
But I've heard you say several times you want to find some way to solve this.
Yeah.
What method would you use to solve it?
Well, I think that if you looked at, and that's a very fair question, Mr. Chairman, I think if you take a look at, the investment opportunities here, and how many, big projects like this have happened in the last 25 years, it wouldn't be a lot. And I think incentivizing other developers to come in and spend their money in your community with good, thought-out planning with your planning board. And by the way, I appreciate it. I want to say on the record, I appreciate your zoning and your planning departments. Top notch. I mean, we had a couple of times where I was getting a little sideways, but again, common sense prevailed, and we worked through it, and we got to a spot where everybody was comfortable. I think looking at some of the infrastructure charges that you have I'm going to just say it. Had I have known that those were the fees, wouldn't even have thought of coming here. And I know John wouldn't either. Just amazing amount of money.
What made it so hard for you to find those fees? I mean, you're a good businessman,
Yeah.
and you said
Thank you.
You didn't know until you closed. I mean,
No, well after we closed, 3 months after. I got a building permit. I paid my fees for the building permit. I had my water and sewer sign off.
Okay.
Had everything there, and
I'm not talking about the case. I'm talking.
Yeah.
These are just questions I have.
yeah, no, there was never any. There was nothing online. There was nothing said to me. Oh, by the way, we have these fees, and when we literally asked for these fees to share somebody with us, our attorneys had called the town, and the town said, "Well, we only have a copy of it. It's in the drawer, and we can't give it out to you." That was the response I got. We had no
Where
idea.
did you get that response?
It was one of the gals that works here. I had no idea.
Okay, so it was somebody who wasn't really.
Yeah, so we had no idea. I mean, but if I'd have known that it would, I've got, $7,500,000 or more tied up in this project up the street up here, and we're looking at $260,000 or $236,000 for one of the village or 96 units of senior housing. Who can afford that? That project won't support it. Neither will the 60 condos. But I mean, when you take a look at it from the other side of it, hey, if we build it and we get some type of a resolution here, you're going to have, $350,000 or $400,000 in revenue off those, the senior housing and the condos in perpetuity or greater, and it's going to create, a huge tax base. I guess to answer your question, I would think that, making it more, we're not looking for any freebies here, just something that's in line with what everybody else is paying in the immediate region, and how do we get, fees that are, for the size of a town that work, that's someplace that's comfortable for developers. I mean, these deals are tight. I mean, John's struggling, like
I know.
I'm struggling.
I agree.
It's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, I get a project over in Hillsborough that's $1 million over budget. Why? Because of interest rates and infrastructure costs just went up. I mean, for site work. So, I mean, we're struggling trying to get that thing close too.
Well, I'd also say on a smaller scale, if you just think about it, shrinking it down, you drive through town, there's a bunch of beautiful buildings that need a little TLC. If you have a 3-unit building that you want to renovate, you've got to pay almost $10,000 in hookup fees. That's 10% probably of your entire budget go to water and sewer fees. So even if you're a local person who lives in the area who wants to renovate a building, it's cost prohibitive. So I think about it even on a smaller scale, and I'd say, just so you have all the information, also acknowledge Hanover and Lebanon are a little bit less, not 50% less, but just a little bit, but different towns. And I'd say,
Hanover and Lebanon are less than we are.
Yeah, yes.
A little bit.
A little bit. I think it's like,
How much?
It also depends on the project. For example, in Lebanon, our project was an old mill, and they look at the past usage, and because our usage is less than the past usage, we don't have to pay a fee. They have to offset looking at historical use. But I would say, just so you have all the information you've been asking for, I didn't know about the fees either, but I got an email saying, just so you know, a developer recently didn't budget for these fees. You should budget for them because they're not listed anywhere. And I don't remember who it came from, but I got an email, and that's how I found out about it.
I know who it is.
Yeah, that's how I found out about it. And at that stage, we're well down the line. Even if we haven't closed, we're so far, and we're not at a stage yet where you really know is that going to move the needle or not. And right now, it does. And that's just so you know, that's how I found out.
I mean, Jack, you've done a good job in your presentation. You've kind of made us look like we're somewhat incompetent, I guess. But
Mr. Chairman, just
can I just finish?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The whole process, if we could step back and start over, and both sides took a little different approach, this would be done. Okay? Because we offered 1/3 off right off. Am I correct?
Correct.
Correct. So we're not talking the original amount, we're talking unadjusted. From my perspective, this is just me speaking as a citizen, and listening and having you in front of me. You didn't come in, from my perspective, with the desire to negotiate. You came in with, here's what I'm going to pay. That's the way it came across to me. Okay, 15. And we've offered other things. We've offered to go down to 50%. So if we're going to sit down and talk, you know, I'm always willing to sit down and talk with everybody, and knowing the facts, and come to some common solution. But it seems like both sides have got their backs up, and that's the way it's going to be. You know, you're there, and that's the way it's going to be, and we're here, and we're saying that's the way it's going to be. So, you know, if nobody wants to, I'm sick of lawyers, to be honest with you. I've got 3 lawyers in my family. I love them dealing, but I think, you know, the board can discuss this. We'll do it separately, but right now it's legal.
Sure.
So I'm trying not to, I'm walking a fine line here. I'm not going to say this or that because it's in the hands of the lawyers.
Yeah, understood.
If we can get it out and come to an honest discussion on both sides, you know, maybe we can solve it.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I'd like to
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's just me speaking.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I'd
not-
just also like to say there was some stuff going, like, when this process was happening, I was getting phone calls from people saying we could do this, we might be able to do this, and there's lawyers involved, and it was just, everything was coming off in this way where, like, it didn't seem right to be negotiating with someone telling me that they don't have the ability to do this, but what about this? And so I think, personally, I speak for myself, that all I want to do is end this lawsuit, sit with all of you guys and figure this out. I think what I'm struggling with is how the $1 million is being thought of, because it's a substantial amount of money, obviously. And right now, 50% versus what we're offering, like, we're tens of thousands of dollars off. And that seems, you know, inconsequential in the larger scheme of things. But I think where I've been struggling with is there just seemed to be this, you know, there was a feeling previously of like, no, you're going to bring $1 million, and you're also get a similar feeling that you were getting. I think we were getting the same feeling for whatever reason. And so, as you said, I would, you know, I'd end the lawyers right now and sit down and talk, and we can move on and find a way to make this work. I'm just struggling with, there just hasn't been any, even like acknowledgement of the potential $1 million that's been brought. And I think we've mentioned in the past, other municipalities are taking that and they're just donating it right back to the people developing it. And I guess we're asking for that a little bit because of the fees, but we haven't even asked, you know, we've always asked that we will pay something and we want to contribute. But there are other municipalities, that $1 million is going right back to fill the budget gap because they recognize the value. So I think I acknowledge and completely understand, you know, that feeling, because I think that's candidly how we felt. So.
If I came across that way, Mr. Chairman, I would apologize to all.
You did.
I did.
Be honest with me.
Then I'll take that. I'll take that one on the chin. I tried to convey that these are what other like-sized communities are paying. You know, about 15 grand was what we had hoped for, because that's. But if I didn't come across that way, then
It could have been a mistake. The way it was presented to us, you were here to give us information about progress. You had lawyers, you had this, you had the other thing, and it was very different tenor than what we were expecting.
Yeah. Well,
Okay?
I'll chalk that one up to experience and say that I'm sorry that it came across in that way. The intent was to share with you that these are what we're seeing in other communities of like size, you know, 6,000, 8,000, and I hope that that would be a fee that would be acceptable, you know, to the board. But we're here in good faith again tonight, acknowledging that we made some mistakes from that presentation. and hope that we can sit down shoulder to shoulder with you and be good investors and good partners here in your community. So
Thank you.
thank you very much for the
Thank you.
opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead.
What the public needs to know is that the legislature, by a majority, voted for the Invest New Hampshire money.
Mhm.
And that if these two projects were done by a drop-dead date, that Newport benefited $1 million. So if you hold out for, let's say, the 250,000 or 200,000, and it doesn't happen, you lost $1 million. That's the simplicity of the whole thing. Regardless of the personalities, regardless of what's been said, the gun is to the head right now saying, if the trigger doesn't get pulled,
Whose head?
excuse me,
Whose head's the gun pointed at?
the towns, and not getting the difference between what would be paid for the hookups and what you would get from Invest New Hampshire.
Okay.
That's the loss. I'm offended by that.
It was not meant to offend.
Okay,
I'm just
wait,
looking
wait,
at it
wait.
from a different
You've given
perspective.
me the opportunity to speak, and I want to get my point across to you because
Go ahead.
I think you're wrong. And so, thinking that you're wrong may have to go to the point where you really get offended. But what this really comes down to is there's $1 million here. If you force the payments out of these people for the 200 or 250,000, this goes poof.
Well worth it.
So, that being said, the gun is to your head to make a deal that would happen. And be reasonable. Compare yourself to other communities. It appears, from a citizen's point of view, from my point of view, that Hunter decided he was going to show these guys with a bear shit in a buckler. And so he poured it on, $96,000, without any substantiation. So the fairness here is looking past the attitudes and things that people have in how to end this. As the attorneys sit down to negotiate this out, the clock ticks. And when it ticks out, the losers are the citizens of Newport.
I will only say this. I take
I'm not-
Jack at his word that he wants to try to look for some cooperation and working together. I accept that. And, it's about all I can say right now, but, I appreciate the comment.
Yeah, I have checked with some of the funding that is still available. I mean, the time is
Right.
9 o'clock. Yeah.
We're aware of that.
As I said in May, and I said back in July, I'll jump through whatever hoops I need to jump through to get that money in for you in this community, because I know it'd be put to good use. So whatever we can do, and John will do the same thing when he closes. He'll be able to do that too. So whatever we can do to get that infrastructure money in, I tell you, they would love to give it to you. I just know that other communities have received it. Swansea received $840,000 for 84 units that we put in down there, and they were tickled pink. And Hillsboro's about ready to receive $840,000 as well. So it's good stuff. So thank you.
Jermaine?
And the last thing
Go ahead.
I wanted to get across, the hard nose, Sullivan County, how long did it go? Where did it wind up? The health center?
Not germane to this issue. Neither of those are germane.
See, what you want to do is you want to
I'm just telling you, it's
Contact.
not germane to this issue. You're bringing up history that is not related to the discussion we're having right now.
You do not regulate content, sir.
I regulate certain aspects of what, we're in a discussion at this point about water and sewer. We're not talking about other things.
Now, we're talking about negotiations and how to get things done.
I know how to do that. I've done it all my life.
Yep. Well, Barry, you're trying to regulate content right now,
I say I'm not, but go ahead.
okay? But we can argue that in a court of law, because it's the highest form of what I can say. And I'm saying right now that the attitude of fight, fight, fight has
I'm
been...
not fighting. I'm just telling you directly.
Okay.
You're going off in a
You just want me-
direction you don't need to.
Barry, you just want me to shut the fuck up, and I'll do that for you right now.
In 6 years, I've never said shut.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. You wanted to say something, Jeff?
I was just,
Bert, I didn't mean to upset you. Okay. I'm just trying to keep us on the topics we're on and not begin to deviate.
It was a comparable,
Okay.
And it's your opinion versus my opinion. And you recognize me to speak my opinion. And if you
To the topic.
if you think you can strangle me with what you want, it just doesn't happen.
No, you're not trying to
Because I go the other way every
I'm not
time.
trying to strangle you at all. You know, been with.
You didn't want me to speak. What do you count? What do you
Listen,
count?
I didn't want you to speak. I wanted you to stay on topic.
I was on topic, in my opinion.
Okay. Jeff?
no, I just wondered, as a board, if we have come to the point that, and with them, it's a lawyer-to-lawyer thing, or if there's some opportunity here for us to have more of a sit-down at some point and start looking at this as friends, and, you know, that maybe both sides feel like it's gone too far, and how do we do that, and how do you get there, or do we not get there? I just don't know if that's...
Go ahead, Paul.
I would recommend that if you're going to talk about anything about litigation, you have a non-public after the meeting to explore that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Anybody on the board have anything else to say?
I'm good.
Good. All right. Centerpiece Street water leak. We got some updates we're going to go through. Paul, you have an update on that?
I'm happy to say, when I put this on the agenda, I was afraid they were still going to be digging in the road. So it was fixed around noontime, I believe. It ended up being an old service line to a demolished house. House has been gone
No.
as long as I remember. So they dug it, they turned it off at the main, and we are now not bubbling up the water on it.
Good. Thank you, Paul.
My concern
Good.
was that the leak was a quarter of a mile away, and it just kind of found its way.
Something nice.
You going to put that on Facebook?
Is that the property right at the edge of the mill property? The corner there where the house used to be?
No,
further.
back here, right at the top of Central Street. Almost.
Good. All right.
Good news.
Very good news. Thank you. Flooding update.
Flooding update. So, I'm going to go through the different projects quickly. Blueberry Ridge Road, which was kind of an unknown. We know we have a hole. We know we have 1 lane of traffic. That has nothing under 4 or 5 inches of pavement. That will begin on Wednesday, weather permitting, Thursday if not. So they'll be digging that and fixing that. That should be covered by FEMA. And then from there, they will be headed to Witcher to do that project. It's Hall's excavation of Bridgewater. It'll be a little bigger than both projects. So we'll be moving forward with that. The other damaged areas, Fletcher Road, Camel Hump Road, are currently out to bid. Those bids are due Friday. So we will know Friday night or Saturday about where we stand on those 2 projects. And then the other flood repairs is things that the town staff will be doing, filling in shoulders and those kind of things.
Good.
Excellent. Damaged. So.
Have a question?
I do.
Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned should be covered by FEMA. Where do we stand with the governor asking for a declaration? I mean, that needs to be done before anyone can see any FEMA money, right?
That is correct. We continue to work with our partners at FEMA, and we're giving them the preliminary information that we have, and they continue to tally the costs and We're hoping that they're going, they have recommended, my understanding is the staff has recommended a disaster declaration, a disaster request, but I have heard of no movement on that.
What about where do we stand here in Newport for cost to repair the damages,
We have met the threshold, certainly.
which is
$3,000 in Newport.
$3,000?
Well, it's $3,000 per site, but then there's a county level. County, I think, damage was just under $200,000. Then the state's was up in the $1 million range.
Right, but where do you stand, say, for estimated cost?
Estimated cost right now, we are at we're probably 125 to 150 on the big on the 6 big projects.
Okay, what about, do we get reimbursement for some of the little work that needs to be done, like ditches that were washed away alongside roads and all that?
Yes, we're trying our best to document that,
Okay.
and we will be submitting for that once declared.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
You have a question?
Any communication from the state about the state roads that were damaged, Union Road specifically?
I have not had any further down. I'm going to tell you that I have to call into the Division 2 engineer, and who's on vacation right now. So that will be one of the questions to follow up. I have not heard anything.
Anything else from the board in regards to that? Main Street paving.
So, I have called into the representative from Division 2. What a nice flow in there. I have been told by someone in the office that he is out. They do not see Newport's Main Street or Route 10 project on the current schedule. It sounds like we have been pushed off until the spring. The question for them is going to be whether this is a continuation of this year's contract or if it will be a rebid next year. And also the painting contract. Because the plan was that we were going to contact whoever they had for painting, and just while they're in town,
Okay.
do our stuff too.
Have them do the thing, yeah.
If it's a continuation of this year's contract, we will know who that vendor is. If not, we'll need to wait till next year's paving season to know that. Probably makes sense. It's not a good painting season right now.
Because of the season, that's getting towards the end of the season, they've decided this.
That's my understanding.
Rain.
Right.
Rain said everything.
Want to July.
But you're talking about the entire project. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You are talking about the entire project and not grinding down Main Street and resurfacing it. As well, none of it.
Correct. None of it.
Right, so I mean, we're talking about painting, but we're really talking about all of it.
Right, yes. I only talked about painting because that's the one where we've got some exposure. But
Right.
it will be, my understanding from where they started, down Southwood Street, 10 from towards the Common, down to the lights, and then down to the bridge.
So we can basically, right, if we're worrying about moving fire hydrants and curb cuts and all that stuff, is going to be into next year's contract as opposed to.
Kurt?
Thank you. Is the line marking, the painting, is that still going to be done by the town? Or is the state going to come back?
Okay, I think, Paul, were you alluding to the fact that we were going to use their vendor for that?
That
So
was my belief.
We're going to try to use their vendor. The town is going to pay
To our specs.
So-
to our specs. They're going to put it
Is the
to our
state going to reimburse us for the money we're saving them? Because we're going to do the painting.
Well,
The state doesn't do painting.
my understanding, and I don't want to speak because I'm just kind of piecing this together. They generally don't come in and paint like that, do they?
They said they were going to.
I know, and that's the baffling part to me. They said they were going to, and then, no.
I can tell you from having talked to a lot of people about this and being the chair of that committee, is that generally they do not come in and do any line striping. That isn't their purview. They will do crosswalks. They come and they do the ADA part of it, but they do not stripe your Main Street. And Hunter had tried to work that into it. They said yes, they could, but we have to go to their standards, which are a national standard, which unfortunately don't fit very well into historic districts, and was going to cost this town 50 parking spaces on Main Street. So the cost of striping is almost inconsequential when you look at what things cost in general, water leaks, other things. We're talking $20 a stripe, 100 stripes. It's about what it costs for the really thick striping. So in order to not lose spaces, you have to throw up what's worth it and what isn't worth it. And I think it was the decision of this board through the committee that was formed on striping is that it was best if we do our own striping. And as a business owner, such as Little Valley is offering to the community center, I personally offered as a business owner in this community to pay for the striping should the town not have those funds as a donation to this town, as a business owner with businesses on Main Street, because it is not a big expense, and it was a huge impact on the businesses on this Main Street to lose up to 50 parking spaces. So, rather than know that's where it stood, and this board has already voted that this town would pay for it, whether that comes from donations from the businesses, from me personally through my business, however that goes down, I don't know. I think the only thing that what you're saying is that it makes more sense to, at the time they're coming through and doing the crosswalks, if they have a vendor here that's good and qualified and does really great jobs getting them straight, why would we paint them ourselves when maybe we aren't so great at lining them up and getting all the measurements perfect? They have the better paint, they have the better application. Why don't we use their vendor, get the quote from their vendor? And if I understand it, that is what you are basically saying. But we would pay.
So did we jump into this a little too hastily, saying we'll pay for it ourselves? When there was so much fog in the whole program here, because I heard the man say they were going to stripe everything as it is. And if we wanted to do it differently, then we had to pay for it. And the board said, well, we'll do it differently, we'll pay for it. But isn't that a little quick? Because now we hear there's some fog and, maybe this, maybe that, we don't really know, and we're going to use their vendor. And
Yeah, from my lens, it got kind of all scrambled up.
yeah, it did.
And you made a comment as is.
Yeah, so it was a little bit confusing when the state came and made the presentation about paying for and doing the line striping.
Yep.
They were going to pay for it, but it was going to be done to state standards. What we didn't realize at the time when we said, that's great, we're going to save a bunch of money, they're going to pay for it, great, we signed off on it. Only afterwards did we learn that we were going to be losing a number of parking spots on Main Street, which was unacceptable, which then started the whole Main Street committee to get it figured out as far as how can we stripe and retain and even grow spaces without losing spaces. The only way to do that would be to go outside of the state's, the national standards for parking, to keep it more uniquely Newport and allow for the lack of loss of spaces for Main Street, which was very important. So because we're going that route, the state says we can't do it because it's not going to comply with national standards, in which case it comes back to us. If we want to do it their way, they'll pay for it. Our way, we pay for it.
Well, they won't
We chose our way
they won't
for us
even
to
do
pay
that
for it.
now. They withdrawn that offer.
Right, that's what's going on
But
together.
if you remember, Kurt, I don't know if you were
I'll
here.
try.
Yeah, I know, I have to try to. Community members who came here were pretty adamant about, we don't want to lose 40 spaces, we'll do it ourselves, and that's how a committee came to be formed. So that part was a lot of community input from that.
And
I don't recall it went that way. But that's. So the big area to gain parking places, the conversation I recall was to get rid of some of the crosswalks. There's too many crosswalks.
We are.
Too many signs.
Yeah.
The signs came down.
Right.
And thank you. And too many crosswalks, that's obvious. I mean, there's one right on top of another. And it's very hard driving up through there, as we talked about. So we are gaining parking spaces by removing 2 crosswalks.
Jeff.
And we're going to pay for it out of our tax money because we don't like the state using national standards. We're going to have our own standards, and the taxpayers are going to pay for it.
That was the feeling that was represented by the group.
Now, the people that are going to gain from this are the businesses primarily.
In the court.
And for the, people who are parking.
Apple Pie Festival.
The people, they are the people that have a lot less tax rate than the citizens, comparatively to what our tax is as a resident. So in saying that, they're already getting a substantial break, and now we're going to fit the bill for them to have more parking places for their businesses.
Yep.
Yep.
Very fine.
Yep.
Yep. One thing that we learned from looking at what the state standard was, and I forget what the acronym is, but they basically require for the kind of diagonal parking we have, enough room when a car backs out that it doesn't back into a crosswalk. What we're doing is we're not following that, but the state required that, and that ate up a couple of spots around every crosswalk. So, and they needed a setback from corners and
Now, what
such.
if a good lawyer is going to come in when there's an accident out there where someone backs into someone else and someone gets injured? If the lawyer is going to say, well, this falls on the town, they didn't put in national standards for their parking areas.
Exactly. We're buying that responsibility.
Well, who's that? That's us, isn't it? I don't like that responsibility.
Right. But that was a case where this board, at the request of citizens that came and filled this room about it, we formed
I
a
was
committee.
here.
We formed a committee. The committee did their research, came back with a recommendation, and this board accepted their recommendation.
Kurt, you're entitled to your opinion, and you've expressed it. Thank you. Okay. Kurt.
2 issues. I'm going to assume if they kick us out of this, that we're headed somewhere near the head of the line next year.
Gosh, I would hope so.
It would be the right thing to do. So the other things that we were going to do, the hydrants and et cetera, if those got done this year, then we would really have to be prepared for what they were going to come and do. And if there's any movement from lack of compaction in what you do in digging up the street, then that gets fixed also, and we're brand new. So my question, that is number one, to maintain that preference of being toward the beginning of the line by being ready.
I would agree. Yes.
Another option is perhaps talk the state into moving a hydrant as compensation for putting us off a year. See if we can
Did you write that down, Paul?
do that.
What was
Because
that?
also see if we can,
Move hydrants.
as compensation for putting us off a year, see if the state will move that hydrant. We only need one hydrant moved, and according to the fire chief, the other one can be taken out because we do not need 2 hydrants across from each other in order to provide.
Yeah, we were talking about moving the hydrants.
Right.
There's been discussion about
Right.
that.
The
but I
center.
don't know, we were talking about putting them in the middle, which to me made great sense. I think somebody came up with that idea.
Brilliant.
The fire department has a hose that will reach across the
Let's
street.
give Paul credit.
I hope so.
And, I think we need to keep on the state to make sure that we're not, lately we've run in, we're on lists, then we're off lists, and then we're, in a couple of other items.
Please do.
We need
Please
to
do.
push back.
I just heard that we're off the list Wednesday of last week.
Yeah.
The squeaking wheel gets the grease.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're in a part of the state where we can squeak all we want, it's too far away to.
You can make up for that, though. Come on.
They can't hear the
Generally, I
squeaking wheel
can,
50
yeah.
miles away.
We only have 13 people squeaking for us down in Connecticut.
But that might have been part of their thinking is, well, we took extra time in figuring out what we wanted to do, and so they went and did something else.
Heard it might have been.
But
Yeah.
now,
Yeah, might have been.
if we can figure out 1 or 2 hydrants and get that done, I think
Yeah.
that we have the.
Yeah, good. All right, community center update.
Okay, a few things here. Status of the shop drawings. Again, I'm sorry to say I played phone tag. They originally had said the end of the month, so we are certainly drawing up on that. And I believe that my intention is that I'll be coming to you at your meeting on September 18th and hoping to move forward. That should certainly be done at that point in time. And I know Red Wolf will be looking for a commitment.
What does move forward mean?
Move forward is to start moving dirt, I think, and moving 2 buildings. Which takes me into the third one, which is ambulance garage stores. One of the things that we'll be leaving is the ambulance garage. I continue to work on that, both short-term solution and long-term solution. And we have something for you back there.
Good. Keith?
If the shop drawings come by the end of this week, would it be smart for us to have possibly a brief meeting to go ahead and vote and get the ball rolling?
Well, yeah, I can't do anything. I'm going to be on the Cape.
Instead of waiting until the 18th, maybe the week before the 9th, maybe.
Yeah. Good idea.
Just saying.
We'll see what we can do to work that in.
Get
Okay, Paul?
the details out to us. So that-
Please.
Yeah. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Just ballpark figure, how much have the taxpayers paid for this project so far? Like in fees and, engineering, are we paying for anything in there, or is it all?
Paul, can you answer?
So I will tell you, at town meeting 3 years ago, appropriated $200,000 for the study of the center, and that money has been expended. We are currently spending donations, so no additional tax dollars have been spent after the $200,000 that was allocated at town meeting.
I have a off-the-wall thought, is that our town for years, going back last century, its pitfall has been the school system. A lot of it is just because people go, that's the way it is. And I'm thinking that wouldn't it be awful nice, instead of taking $6, $7, $8 million, whatever it's going to be, in donations, and turning that money into a trust fund of sorts for the school. And that money would be doled out to give our teachers a state wage that everyone will be looking at, saying, man, this town cares about its citizens and its teachers. And, go ahead.
Nope, happy.
You can't do that.
You have these pregnant pauses that kind of...
Right, yeah. Well, things are rattling around up there, and
I
I'm trying to
understand
stop
that.
them.
Same thing goes with me. Yeah.
So, in saying that, we would have no turnover for teachers. We would have teachers coming in. And we would be able to turn around the education of these students. The town as a whole would realize that we care about our students. Don't care about a rec center. We voted it down 4, 5, 6 times. Voted it down. But the board, yeah, you can wink, you can roll your eyes all you want, but it's very unfair of the board to sit up there and say,
on 6 times, that's all. I didn't realize.
whatever. You can correct me on that. You come out and you can do that. But I'm just throwing out generally, and I'm very discouraged with the chair of the board can sit up there when this is a democratic system in this town, and you can sit up there and take a side that you want the rec center. I'm in favor of that. No. You got to listen to the people that live in this town, and they're not in favor of it. So for you to carry that big weight up there when actually you're supposed to be neutral. when it comes. You can voice all you want off away from that table, but when you're sitting up there, you're supposed to listen to the citizens.
Okay.
So I know you're going to work hard to get that money turned around to get it into the school system, because we don't need a rec center. Maybe, how much are you going to sell that building to? Is that where the new rec center is going to go, where that present building is? The present rec center?
No.
What are you going to do with that rec center?
Right now, we're having discussions about that. That's a very good question, and it is part of the discussion that's taking place. I think, we're talking about a variety of things that we might do with that.
Yeah. Now, if a rec center was such a thing of need in a town, wouldn't investors come in here and put a rec center in and charge a annual fee for all the people that are going to use it?
That'd be like Claremont.
It's going to be a moneymaker, but people are just going to flock in there and
Jeff, you want to speak to that one?
Jeff?
Yeah, I can speak to that as the owner of Newport Fitness, that we charge for that. This is, what's going is not a recreation center. It is a community center. And having been on the board in the beginning and having been for and against it, both, having been in your position and having been in the position of being also for it, there was a lot of controversy being about it being tax funded. However, a lot of work went into this, and this is not tax funded any longer. This is done on donation, and fair enough, right? So while I was against it for a long time, because I didn't want it coming out of my taxes, and I'm not up for it, and I didn't really want the competition, particularly for my own business. But I was also understood that as a community center, it was never going to be a charged facility, because that is a whole different ballpark. That's more of what I do. That's treadmills and things that wear out and a lot of things. But to give a place for group sports, Boy Scouts were used a lot as example for people to meet. A lot of work was put into this, and a lot of private money was put into this. It's very impressive, and I would say pretty much unprecedented to have that kind of funding. And I don't think anyone in this community should be against what's happened. It's very, very remarkable. And I'm personally, pretty proud of it. I think it's moved a long ways over a lot of time, and I think that.
I'd like to see that dedication for our schools.
Of course, but please
Of course,
remember.
we say that for decades. We've said that.
Well, but please understand that with the schools, we do have money going to the school, and that's with the tech center. So there's movement there as well.
Kurt, I have all kinds of empathy for the school. I was in it.
All kinds of what?
Empathy for the school and desire to make it work hard, because I was part of that. Still feel akin to it.
Let's raise some money for the school system, for the teachers. Get them fair pay.
Jeff?
Yeah, on the community center, the comment that the people are against it. Saturday when we were on the Common, town had a booth there during Apple Pie Craft Fair, and we had some of the illustrations of what the proposed center would look like, the community center. I believe I recall one person that came up and told us they were against it. We had other people coming up all day long saying, "Where's that going to be? When are you starting it?" Or, aside from that one, everyone else was looking forward to seeing it and utilizing it. As far as the need, two previous town master plans spoke to the need for replacing the existing rec center and such. The current one is undersized for the demand being placed on it, and it's becoming pretty much at the end of its life for use as a occupied building for kids. As far as the school, I believe the school has a $16 million program going on for renovation of the tech center. They've got a lot of money going into the tech center right now too. So, but as far as what we pay our teachers, that basically would have to be negotiated with the union, and that then that contract would have to be approved at a school vote. It's nothing, you know, if we had like a pot of money and wanted to give it to the school, you know, we could negotiate for more money if we had it. But generally, what the teachers get paid has to be voted on by the citizens of the town. So, and, you know, people start looking at what the tax impact is, so if we get some more development here, you know, like these 2 apartment buildings we were hearing, you know, as they said, $35 million worth of work. It'll add to our grand list and may be able to offset some of the tax rate the rest of us are paying. So.
Steve, you had your hand up.
I was just going to talk about the CTE, that we do have generous donors also to help fill in some of that budget. So just, there are people donating.
Good.
To
That's
us.
the first time I've heard that. That's good. Bert, then, Paul, and then Bert.
I just want to say, certainly I fully advocate and support the teachers in this town. And would encourage
She's listening, I
any
hope you
school
do.
administration that might be listening to work towards rewarding them and keeping them here. I hate to say it, but all of the funds that we have received are earmarked for.
That I was going to bring that up.
The USDA is a $4.7 million grant, congressional appropriation for a rec center. $1 million from the state of
For new community centers.
For a new community
Specifically
center.
says new.
The $1 million from the state of New Hampshire was for a new or improved rec center, and all of the individual donors have signed up for a brick on the wall, or a scoreboard on the wall, or a room. So all of those funds are, fortunately for the community center, allocated for that and can't go anywhere.
Okay, good, thank you. Bert.
Charlie Park, 9 to 5. So
Okay.
people working in the community are 9 to 5. Kids get out at 2:30. That's always been my worry. What do they do in that time? And to have a place for them to go is, in fact, education on things that they should be doing as opposed to probably things they might not be supposed to be doing. And this money hasn't come out of our pockets. The threshold for the bond being 60%, more majority, is to bring it out that way with more strength. But right now, there's no public funds in it. So with no public funds in it, if it came to a vote, it would only need 51%. Period. Or, excuse me, 51 votes. 1 vote
Over the 50.
that, to make it clear. And so therefore, at this point, it's not stopped. I've talked a number of times about just putting it forward for an opinion of the public, because I know it would be yes, but it's got to go forward.
Thank you. What made you think of Dolly Parton?
The song, 9 to 5. People
Got it.
people get out of work at 5 o'clock.
I was puzzled there for a minute.
Good. Yeah.
I was with you.
I think that sometimes some of the rhetoric that comes up in terms of this is that we back and forth call a recreation center and then a community center, a recreation center and community center, and it really is a community center. We're ultimately sort of replacing a recreation center, but that's just part of it, and there's community space here. And then when we see it that way, it means a lot more, because there's a lot more that will be going on there in terms of other things, you know, and you know, I saw a great deal of things as I travel. I see how people are using their community centers, and it's pretty cool, you know, indoor farmers markets in the winter, et cetera, when there's space for that kind of such a thing.
Paul?
And we won't have to shut the school down to vote once it's constructed, because we'll be able to move town meeting and town voting to.
Good. All right.
One final
Go ahead, Jeff.
I just want to say, you know, we're talking about how it's being done with no taxpayers' money, and that's to construct it. Operating cost, we're not expecting an awful lot. I believe the estimates from the committee was around $25,000 a year more, because it's twice the size for utilities and such. And my personal feeling is, if we find it's being utilized so much by the community and kids that we have to hire additional staff, I don't see that as a detriment. That's just my opinion on that.
I've been pushing, I want to make sure that it is a community center. I want to be involved with it. Of course, I wanted a walking track, but that's gone by. But they are going to have a track around the gym. So I hope it gets utilized, and I feel strongly that it will. Okay. All right, you done?
The last thing I would just say is the state funding remains on hold, and they are continuing to tell us that September is when they will come through with their schedule.
That's $1 million.
That's the $1 million.
Yeah. Well, they better come through with it. That isn't meant to be a threat. But, they've hung us up to dry.
We have verbal support from the executive council and the government.
Yep.
Can I,
Go ahead, Jim.
on a related issue on recreation and courts and all, I have a question for the superintendent. What's the status of Wheeler Gym? Has that been fixed, the floor in there? Is that going to be able to be used?
It's going to be able to be used for basketball season, yes. I just don't want to update the select board before I can update the school board.
Right. But I mean, it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress, but it will be used for basketball.
Okay.
Good.
I just really haven't heard anything since.
We've still been waiting, that's why. Because I've been very busy over the summer with other jobs.
Right.
Okay, let's move to action items. Approval of the Newport School District construction at the Public Works Garage. You want to speak to that, or you want?
I can, or either way. You have a request from the school district to attach a 10 by 30 structure to the east side of the Public Works Garage, which would support the bus drivers, the transportation group, be attached to the garage for concerns of just snow load and some code issues. And the representatives of the school are here to discuss that.
Go ahead.
Where do we stand with the lease agreement?
We're going to be dealing with that tonight.
So, kind of cart before the horses, or not?
No, well, so the MOU is not written yet for the bus parkings. That needs to be constructed. But I think previously the board offered space outside of the building, and right now that is currently utilized for parking of buses and transportation staff vehicles. But the MOU for the bus barn has not been constructed, has not been developed yet.
The 10 by 30 foot structure, that would be built to code and all that stuff.
Yes.
And it would be considered a betterment, such that when everything reverts back to the town, that goes with it.
Yes. We received a good letter.
That's one of the items in the lease,
That's my point.
because we had that meeting 2 months ago.
So the reason why we're proposing this tonight is because we had the meeting a while back, and so we were told that we can start to move forward with any of the renovations that we need to do while we're waiting for the agreement to come forward. And so I reached out to Paul recently and said, is there any progress? And he was unaware that there was one even supposed to be written. And so somehow no one was aware, and there was one never written. And so we're coming forward tonight because that's step one. We can't do anything until we build that, until we have approval, because in order for us to do any concrete inside, we have to tear down the building that's in there. And if we're going to tear down the building that's in there, then we need a place for our people to go. So we're looking to start phase one of this.
So phase one be the building? Outside
Yes,
building?
the outside building, yeah.
Paul?
Well, so the MOU that is bouncing around in my head, one of the issues would be any construction or any development of land outside of the building would need prior approval by the Board of Selectmen, and any modifications inside the building or outside would need to be by code and, if necessary, stamped by an engineer. So those are things that I think would be in the MOU, and I don't think the school would object to either of those things. But you're right, we don't have anything.
Well, we've had a workup of an MOU, am I right?
I I have not, no. I've seen the list of
Yes, that was it.
the bullet point. We have the list of bullet points.
which were both sides agreed to.
Mm-hmm.
That- So all we needed to do was expand and strengthen the language.
This goes back to the meeting back in Toll School a couple months ago,
Yes.
where, everyone seemed to come away from that in agreement.
Yeah.
So, because I watched the video, and it's like,
It was a good meeting.
It
nothing's
was a
moved.
very good.
Our next meeting's the 18th. Why can't we have the MOU and this? This is part and parcel. I don't see why we would, this is so tied into what that lease and how that's going to be written up and done, that to read this now is out of order. That we should have that lease first, and on the 18th, we could sign the lease and approve this request, all in one.
That makes sense to me, but
We're
I wondered
motivated now.
if the board would show a positive lean towards this so the school could start
So
their
you're looking-
engineering and getting
yeah.
their costs lined up.
Yeah. I would like to see that happen with the board.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Bert?
Got to engineer it small, but we got to make it right because we're attaching to. And looking at the picture up there, that is the bus garage, the town garage. The little dimple on the bottom is the building. I tried to do it approximate scale, and Route 10. The prevailing winds come from the top down to the bottom. So across that almost flat roof comes all of that wind and drops the snow. Happens everywhere. And so therefore, what goes there has to be structurally sound.
Has to
So,
pitch to it.
we need to know that we can go ahead so that we, one, can get it engineered. We'd like to get it up before snow flies. We get a foundation to put in, which is equivalent to the height of yours. Yours is about 47 inches above the ground. We need to make that. And so that the foundation under it, the three-wall foundation underneath it, is the same. And then the building. The exit from the new building, the small building, would be on the end, and they would walk around to go inside, because putting steps from this elevation down inside, put steps and people walking when buses go in the busway, where's going around. So you have construction time too.
So we kind of changed a little bit up on there after
Okay.
we went out and did some
No-
more investigation.
no
So we wouldn't be able to
breaking
cut a
through
hole in the wall because the steps would go into the building and the bus
Okay.
would back up and
Back up.
the steps would be in the
Yeah.
way, so.
So,
park a short bus there.
Paul, what are you asking for? I thought your letter was very straightforward, understandable,
Thank you.
and, Paul, what are you asking for?
So, well, I mean, the school is asking, right, and I...
School's asking, but
was
you said you
passing
wanted to
on-
get the
Passing on
direction.
that request.
Yeah.
Was looking for authorization to move forward. I think if, in light of Jim's comments, if the board wanted to endorse the idea but not necessarily approve, that would give the school a 3-week head start to start developing what they need.
And they've got to design and engineer it and run it through the building permit process.
Well,
Yes.
they have to.
Yeah.
No bathroom facilities inside. Yep. The only utility it'll have is electrical, and when we do the conversion to get us off of your bill, all done at the same time.
And you're going to have it heated, right? So you're going to need a foundation that goes below the frost or whatever.
Say that again?
It's going to be heated, so you need the proper foundation and structure for a heated structure,
For
correct?
the structure outside?
Yeah.
Not really in this case. It'll be a room heater of some sort, but that's just for comfort for them to come in.
Okay.
Go ahead. Were you done, Bert?
Yeah, I guess so.
Does the school have a timeline as to when you're going to try to get that started? Because between now and our next meeting, we should be able to get the MOU written up and
2 weeks ago is when we were supposed to have it done, but there was an idea of taking a camper, like porta potty, I call it, and putting it out there. When I came to the conclusion of the snow coming off the end of that, I said, no way, they don't hold that kind of weight.
Yeah.
So,
I would take a motion for an endorsement of this request and follow up to come to the next meeting with MOU and acceptance of the MOU and this plan.
I'll make a motion that we endorse
Proposal was presented,
Yeah.
pending
yeah,
the formal MOU.
What Keith just said through.
And I'll
thank you for,
and I'll second that.
Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
My last point to Paul was, I believe the attorney was directed by this board some weeks ago to start that. So I would question Sean to see where he's at.
Okay.
Well, that was
is there
that
something
was like
lost
the two
between?
lawyers in the same firm were working on it together.
That's correct.
That was the land.
No, that was the
we're getting-
land one.
yeah,
That was the
let-
land one.
Okay.
So we're shooting for the next meeting
Yes.
to have that MOU.
Which I think is fair.
That's item B.
Good.
now you've got to just like some clarity.
Sure.
Here we are, September,
Yep.
and your next meeting is the 18th?
18th.
So
Excuse me.
in that time period, we get it on paper
Excuse me.
and to you, and hopefully walk out then with a construction yes, and a construction yes, that then we can get this done before we
Sounds
get
good.
into the cross parts.
That's
So-
what I'm thinking. Anybody on the board disagree with that?
So both sides have to do their diligence to get the
Yeah.
MOU done.
Correct. Good motivation on both sides.
Okay, good.
Snowflake.
Yeah.
No, this is
Just
Yes,
one
Paul?
last thing. So when you guys start developing it, make sure your engineers are aware of where the well is and the water line, because I believe it's on that end.
Just go out there with an excavator and find them, right?
Careful.
You'll find it.
The well bird is somewhere in this region right about here.
Oh, I thought it was.
Donna?
I'm hoping, if possible, we have a board meeting on the 14th, and then not until the 28th. So I don't know if the MOU can come to us before the 14th. That way we can look at it and vote on it, and you guys, so that way when we bring it to you guys on the, it's a done deal.
Can we do that, Paul?
I don't know.
That makes sense.
That's fine.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I thought we were a little farther along. Okay. And that's not a knock on anybody, that's just, gotta get it done.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this going to involve going to planning and zoning as well for this, and do we have to schedule that into the meetings?
Be informational only. Planning is before your meeting, right? Second Tuesday.
I don't think it needs to go to zoning.
No.
Right, not zoning, but planning.
So the September planning meeting would be on the 12th, which would be before your meeting on the 13th. And it really should be just informational, but if possible.
Just want to make sure we cross all the
Good, good.
T's and dot all the I's.
Everybody clear on this? Good. Okay, school, town, land swap, MOU. Have we just beat that to death there? No, this is different.
This is so as
We've got
part
a lot
of,
going on.
Yeah.
as part of the CTE project, the land under that was encumbered by a recreation grant with the state of New Hampshire and the federal government back in the late 70s to utilize that land for, and that grant was with the town, not with the school. Formally, we leased that land, and that's how we got the legal authority to develop the recreation complex. In the research of the CTE Center moving to the north side of the property, we realized that that was going to be a problem with that encumbrance. We've come through with a plan to replace that land, which is allowable under the grant. And so we will be replacing that land with a new field at the property on the corner of Route 10 and Corbin Road on the northwest corner of that property. This is an MOU that discusses that. The town, so we're in agreement that the school can use the property for the CTE. We're going to replace it with land on Corbin Road that will be developed into the field. The school will reimburse the town up to $25,000 for the development of that field. And then we will be coming through with some oversight and maintenance agreements and some use agreements for all of the properties related to that that project and that land. Previously, you've seen a draft of this. It was in here with red highlights for changes. Those have been incorporated, and I have the signed copy signed by the school board and the superintendent. So I would ask that you approve this memorandum of understanding and authorize Barry and myself to sign it.
I'd make that motion.
Here, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Question.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Do we have an
Sorry.
estimate on cost to develop that land for recreational use?
We do not. We had one previously. It was about $80,000, but that was installing ball fields with backstops and things like that.
That was a whole lot,
The whole
not just
enchilada, right. In
piece
a
we
brief
need.
discussion, one of my thoughts was we're going to develop as much of the field as required to offset the land.
Offset the land.
Because the land has to be offset in use, value, and size.
Yep.
I think the CTE is about an acre, so we need to develop at least an acre of it. I thought
more
that,
like half an acre.
Hmm?
Thought the building
It
was
was
like
3/4, but they said an acre.
yeah, if you
Okay.
get into the I think you
Okay.
get some retention ponds that can,
All right.
maybe you can put a pool in, pool pond.
okay.
But, so overall, it's an acre.
Okay.
So we'll develop an acre. My thought was, we've got, PJ has some money that was originally allocated to that project. We
Correct.
might develop more. Talking to the state, they.
And did you have anything, Christie, we're
I
gonna,
just want to hear the rec center update.
okay.
Community center.
Community center.
So the people at Land Conservation said we might not want to develop that right now.
Right.
And I don't want to cover that entire property because the top half of it and the western corner of it is our well safety zone. And if we ever get to put in a pump house, then I've got to go back to the feds and say, all right, I want to swap out some land. And I don't know where that's going to come from. So my hope is just to encumber as much as necessary to offset the CTE property and then develop that.
Yeah, we're not gonna build a Fenway Park.
No, absolutely. But at one point in time, I thought about loaming and seeding the entire thing.
But we don't have to.
We don't have to, and they kind of discourage that.
Good.
One other question.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Where do we stand on parking? Were we looking at utilizing Airport Road?
Parking right now is proposed to be Airport Road on the backside. We'll have to paint a crosswalk. That would be town painted because it's not that it's not
Okay.
detailed. I think we have a stack of yellow signs that we might throw onto the corner because coming from the west, it's a little blind.
Yeah.
So we may put up some crosswalk signs, but
Okay.
Good. Okay, so we've had a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good to go.
You should probably sign it before you leave tonight.
Yeah, I will.
Do you want to sign it so I can take it? Or do you want to sign it, make a
Yeah.
copy?
we'll make a
No,
copy. I'll give it to him.
Okay. Sounds good.
Before we
Bert,
leave.
you can bring it to me?
You can't hear out of here.
So that's the good year?
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks,
Hi, Steve.
Hey,
Oh,
was
Steve
White
left,
happy this
shoot.
evening?
I haven't seen her.
Well, we kind of have. It's straight enough.
Are you leaving, Don?
Yes.
Before you leave, I do want to comment, while you're here, and I thought what you guys did at the Apple Pie Festival was outstanding. I mean, you set it up. People came over, you had everything right there for kids. And so it was a statement about kids are important. And I really appreciate the work that went into that.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that. Next year, we're hoping to make it bigger. Hoping to do free haircuts for
Free hair,
kids.
oh, for kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each
They're
year
down.
it's bigger and bigger. It was bigger this year than it was last year.
Yeah, you did a good job. It was very well done. Very well done. So thank everybody.
I appreciate you coming over and visiting us.
Yeah, well, I'm still connected.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. North Newport Well, accept $948,000 ARPA grant and authorize the current and active, very active, town manager to sign all related documents. Looking for a
Want the original?
motion?
There's some specific wording we're supposed to use in this, Paul, was that the?
That current and active is the language
they
that
wanted.
we need.
Thank you.
You have previously ratified and accepted this grant
Yeah.
and authorized the town manager under this purpose. You're getting very picky.
I'll make that motion to accept the $948,000 ARPA grant and authorize the current and active town manager to sign all related documents.
Second. All those, any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
I thought there was one here where they actually had a sheet with the verbiage. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
for the tap.
Is that the tap?
Yeah,
Where's that, Jeff? I gotta read that.
that's this one. That has Allison's picture on the email. If I'm looking at it right. Which is-
All right, well, let me just read this then. I'm looking for a motion for the NHDOT TAP grant certificate of authority, reaffirm support and authorize the current and active town manager to sign all related documents. Haven't we done this like a dozen times already? Or?
Well, we got to remember we've got 7 different grants running around right now.
Okay.
So we've done each of them at least once.
So the basis of this is the current and active town manager to sign all documents. Am I correct?
I'm just looking through Allison's email. For other language in general, Alison, that the current and active town manager is granted this authority, the board of selectmen to read and approve. Signature by Chairman McConnell of the motion presented below. And it is current and active. Jim, do you have that page? You want to read that? Starting at the fourth line down, reaffirm its support for the TAP grant.
I'm just talking about this one here.
Yep. So, I'm sorry, second paragraph, due to the recent change.
Yep. Do the recent.
No, fourth line down would be your motion. Read it for 'em.
Yep. The town of Newport is seeking a motion from the Board of Selectmen to reaffirm its support of the state's TAP sidewalk renovation program agreement and kindly request the board's approval to authorize the current and active town manager to sign any documents related to the TAP sidewalk project. This designation will empower the town manager to act as the official signator, thereby maintaining the project's momentum and adherence to the agreement with the New Hampshire DOT.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Good.
I mean, this is a project that's, I think, currently scheduled for like 2028 or something.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I think so.
Like way out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
So
You gonna still be here?
probably not the last time we're going to reaffirm that grant.
Probably not.
I'm gonna take like fishing real last week.
Okay, appointment to planning board for Scott Stanton, full member, 3-year term ending in June 2026. Looking for a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Appointment to zoning board, adjustment, Nicholas, wow,
Go ahead.
Vertifiello.
Very
How's
good.
that Full member, 2-year term ending June 2025.
So moved with apologies for butchering his last name.
Because there's no O in there.
There's no other.
Second.
I'm sorry. I had spaghetti for dinner. Yeah.
Brad, you got that, right?
Got it.
Did we get a second?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. How do you pronounce that?
Aye.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I just said it wrong. I just
Yeah, all right.
I'm gonna butcher it twice.
Vertical.
All right, we've entered that wonderful time of open forum. Everybody left.
Where did Bert go? I've never seen Bert leave.
Oh, no, I know. I'm sorry.
People still
We have the esteemed Dr. Shizzle here. Did you have something you wanted to comment on?
Well, I did, and after listening to our good friends from Avonru, who seem to really have Newport right in their heart after all that, I've got more to say. Yes, they say they're investing in town, but they are investors. They're just naturally looking for the best return on their buck. And growth is inevitable, probably. Development is not bad, but there's an incredible pace of development sort of on the books right now. Probably not in compliance, or at least with the wishes of the master plan years ago, which was that we want to keep portals to town beautiful, and attractive. North Main Street is really the best of the 4 major portals. You come into town and, man, you see beautiful old barns, you see, a Quonset hut at the airport that goes way back, but steakhouse, brewery, did he say, a shopping center, and all this stuff. We are going to be West Lebanon. And it takes an incredible amount of development. It takes probably $80 million worth of taxable development, taxable, properties to see any real drop in our tax rate, about 10% for 80 million, as I figured. So, and a lot of investors seem to have their target right on that North Newport area, because another big planned thing is across the street, that may be coming to planning board soon. So, there you go. But I really came to talk about the portal, which is Sunapee Street. And Sunapee Street is now enhanced by a beautiful mural by Heidi Lorenz, which is on the back of the Lewis building. And there's a little pamphlet that we can all pick up somewhere. It's not here because I left mine at home, but explains the history of postcards and all that sort of thing. It's hard to see because of the chain link fence that is on the concrete stop between the fire department and the parking for the sheriff's department. So I really came, and I don't know, I gave some pictures to Paul, but my guess is you're not going to be able to cue them up. I just drove down Sunapee Street and I took a few pictures, and you really got to get over the hump. You got to get pretty much to the level of the town offices here or beyond to actually get a good view of this without the chain link fence. So, and Sunapee as a portal needs, some real sprucing up, that particular portal into town. This is a great enhancement, so I'd like the board to think about that chain link fence, even that one section at the terminus, and whether it has to be there or whether even if there are codes that say it has to be there, could something else be done? So we can see that beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It is beautiful, and Heidi Lorenz has to be, credited once again. was great. You know, like the restoration of the two murals downtown, and,
Right.
you know.
Right. I think all of that adds greatly to the town, the aesthetics of the town.
Yeah.
So you're asking,
I'd
You
like
want
to
us to
look at,
at it.
you know,
Okay.
whether that fence could be removed, if it can't be removed. Yeah. The concrete, you know, the fence is in about 4 sections, maybe 3. The section that is closest to the street that really blocks
Yeah.
the view of this mural, the concrete goes from about 18 to 42 inches because the fire department has a sloping
Yes.
driveway there. So, I'd love to see it removed. I don't know if it's a significant safety hazard there or not. You know, the concrete is going to, okay.
Jim?
Yeah, I just believe they put that up there for a reason. You know, I know part of it's, they do the snow in the wintertime that saves some of that from going over to the sheriff's department side and wrecking their vehicles that park directly below. They've got a generator that's right there also. And it's going to be some sort of code that requires a certain height for those kind of walls so people don't fall off and go off the other side. So I'm sure our building department could figure that out.
It's something we could have looked at. The concern is the drop on the backside. I think
Yes.
At the shallowest,
Yeah.
it's probably a 6 to 8 foot drop. It gets bigger.
Yeah.
I think it's something that we could have looked at and maybe bring a proposal forth in the budget. We certainly don't have plans for replacement of that right
I could use a hacksaw to cut it down.
now. I am sure we can't just cut it. I'm sure.
What's
If the code
back
may,
here on this wall?
if you know, if there is a code, we got to have something. It may be that as this all slopes down, it doesn't have to be as high as the other sections, possibly.
We can look at that.
So, you know, I'd like to look at it. I'd like to enhance the view of that,
Good.
you know, beautiful
Thank you.
art.
I'm just curious, is there chain link fence also on this wall back here on this parking lot?
I don't think so.
I'm talking about walls and safety, people falling off the edge. I'm just wondering, you know, if that is, I mean, I know that if you're,
It's a slope, you just roll down the slope.
I was just slow. I'm just trying to remember and how high it is, you know, because I know that on home, on a porch and those kinds of things are in place, but I'm not sure a retaining wall, where that sits on a retaining wall as opposed to your personal porch. It's over 3 feet. You have to have at that point 42 inches.
I think the concern is that it's a parking space and people will be walking around a vehicle. I mean, the first goal is to keep a vehicle from going over. Concrete should do that. But then the fence was to keep employees safe. But I'm sure there's a code for that.
I'm sure there
Well,
is.
and you're going to look into that.
You say it?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd always say that if we got to have a fence, and if there is a code, let's look at the minimum
Yep.
we need to satisfy.
Good. Thank you. Anything else from the community or open forum? Okay. Communications, Board of Selectmen. Jeff? Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you. The pie craft fair was excellent. We were all out there. The weather helped, cooperated. Appreciate everyone coming out. That's all I got.
Jim?
Echo Jeff's comments. I thought the athletic date, the weather for that was tremendous. We could see rain to the south and to the north, but Sunshine Town prevailed once again. Great event as always. Parking was an issue. There were certain people that I know that they had plenty of comments about parking, lack thereof, why we just haven't developed parking along the left side of Park Street, you know, because it was certainly parked with there all day long. But so those issues, which I know we kind of tabled for this event and others, but at some point it's going to have to get readdressed again. And that was some of the comments that were made to me over the weekend.
Yeah. One other thing I remember of the most interesting thing people seemed drawn to at our booth was the trail map.
Yes.
We had an awful lot of interest in the trail map and our trail system, so perhaps we need to promote that a little more so people are aware of that. And,
In our community center.
that too, but I mean,
Yeah.
the trail map was right there. We had people
Yeah.
saying, "Where is this? I didn't know you had this."
Say that, as a
I mean,
mountain
it was
bike
like-
rider, I've never hit those trails because I'm not really even aware of where they go or how they go. You know, and I'm over in Moody Park or wherever.
I mean, it's like
Yeah.
we had one couple say, "Well, we may have to hit that after lunch."
Yeah, and they took pictures of
Yeah.
the map. So we need to make sure we have
Yeah.
something that can go to the kiosk or up around town.
So along with people commenting on the community center, illustrations, the trail map was the big item people were focusing
Show a
on.
lot of interest.
This goes perfectly into my next comment that was made to me was how difficult it is to navigate the town of Newport's website. How to find things, how to discover things. That fee could have been on there, could be on there today. Just good luck trying to find it, even if it's there today.
Correct.
That I would think, and I would hope that as we get coming into budget season, that we look at the ability to have somebody professionally maintain the site, as well as work it into a position where it can be easily searched. There's bad stuff in, bad stuff out, and we don't have a real good mechanism by department or by any real means to see things really updated and kept up the way it should be. So that was a comment that's been made to me, again this weekend, but I've heard it several times before, and experienced it many times myself trying to look for things on our website. So hopefully that as we come into our budget season, we could take a look at that.
Yeah, there was some pages where the latest update is like minutes from 2019 or something,
Yeah,
or such.
yeah.
Well, I would say that in my experience of navigating a lot of towns' websites, through doing the striping committee or through just trying to look at different towns' water and sewage rates, that we definitely have one of the more difficult ones to navigate. That some are excellent. I wish I'd probably taken more notes on whose were really, really good and whose were not so good. But there are some really good ones and ones that are really easy to navigate. We don't have one that's...
Yeah, a website is a living document that needs
Yeah.
constant attention.
Go ahead.
I threw an idea at John Lunn on the NCTV because he's looking for more people to help out. And I said, do you ever get high school kids that maybe are looking at journalism or media?
That's whoever you do.
Yeah. Get a similar kid that maybe is looking at computer or IT work down the line. Help the kid out, like maybe a $500 donation for college if he works.
I'd like to see
Maybe
us
get some credit
look
at school.
a professional.
Yeah. Continuity,
We're-
consistency
I mean,
is tough there.
we're
I get the
talking-
idea, but it's
Yeah.
We're
the
12
consistency.
down a business. And we need to be
Yeah, because
accessible.
when you talk about people making comments, I make a lot of comments to myself when I'm on that thing. Because I have a hard time navigating
I do
through
too.
that. All right.
I'm not done.
He's still going.
If you, with me, if you pause, I'm going to move.
You're not going to double my content.
Don't get me going.
Is just an update from the Heritage and Commission and Memorials and Monuments that we should put on our agenda for the next meeting to reaffirm the combining of those two entities. I know we've discussed it, but I don't think there was any formalized movement on that part to combine the two. So I thought Virginia Earl was going to be here tonight to discuss that a little bit, but that is something that we should have on the agenda for our next meeting.
Anything else, Jim?
Now I'm done. Thank you very much.
All right, good.
Thanks for indulging.
Keith?
I'm all set.
I would just like to say that thank you for roping me in as I'm wandering down through and looking at pies, etc., and I hear my name and offering me a shirt, and I thought it was a great event, and I don't think that I knew it was going to be as good as it was. And I think that we have a common that in a lot of ways, like our community center, it draws people together from all sorts of towns, which is, I mean, I thought it was really, really impressive. And I also say that with the parking situation, that it's been on my heart for a while to rethink that. When I started to think about, striping down here and all that there may be ways of moving it, possibly moving the parking to the other side. If you remove them from one side, maybe they can come in, non-parallel parking, and who knows, we're pulling in and backing out. I mean, I don't know, but I think that it is certainly access and parking to our common is may be what limits its usage, and I think it's a really excellent subject to slowly dig into over time.
Quick follow-up on it. Huge shout out to the Apple Pie Committee. I drove by the town, came into town around the Rotary at, I don't think it was 5 o'clock. Spotless. The common was absolutely spotless. So not only a great event attended by umpteen thousand people, but it was torn down, cleaned up, and was spotless 2 hours later. So kudos to them. Great organization.
I would second everything that's been said about the Apple Pie Festival. The only thing I would bring up is I did not get my apple crisp, and gotta figure that out for next year, how I can get in line early and get the apple crisp. But excellent job by everybody. I want to thank people here who helped set. Jim was there carting things early. Allison was right there. Paul was there, and the rest of you all were there, and I appreciate that.
PJ was there too.
I'd like to,
PJ. Yep.
if I may, one more.
I got one more too.
Okay, I would just like to, a little bit on my heart is for all the folks down at Aurora Bakery. It's just what they do. Sorry if it upsets me a little bit because I know they're hurting. But it's sorry.
That's okay. I felt like crying earlier tonight.
It's incredible. And go in to get lunch. Go get a baked item. Lend a moment or whatever. It's just it does your heart good to go in there.
And they've done that for years.
Yeah.
Years and years.
And I think it largely goes unnoticed in a lot of ways. Maybe it's because they're off of Main Street. But it is, I just can't believe the hearts of that crew there.
Mm-hmm.
And I do get emotional sometimes. I apologize.
Okay.
And it's just,
And
please go visit them.
they are usually at the farmer's market too.
They are.
I'm not sure about last time because I forgot to go over there until we got home. It's like,
Yeah.
shoot, I didn't get in.
I always go, we buy all our bread right there.
Yeah.
That's bread. You had one, are you done? Did you have one more comment?
I have one more of a question.
Yeah.
Originally, we were going to hear the recommendation on the town manager search committee tonight.
I was going to do that in my afternoon.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry to Paul. I didn't get any of this tonight. So, town manager communication.
Is the board done? Any other little?
The board's done. The board's done.
Okay.
If I could give out one little shout out to I did a little volunteering down at the Jamboree at the high school. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And it had a really good turnout down there. So I just wanted to give those guys a little recognition.
Thank you. Okay, we're done. Go, Paul.
All right. So the town manager search committee met this morning. My error and I don't know how I could overlook it on the agenda, but they were omitted from the agenda. But they continue their work. Right now, they have gone through and worked through the job description, the advertisement, and the community profile. Some really nice work, community profile, a lot of work done by Mallory Starcher.
I thought it was outstanding.
Outstanding.
You've seen a copy of it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we worked through that afternoon, or did you start last week? Yes, great job. We went through it and wordsmithed it a lot today. A great document. And that can actually live, it's made so that the town manager hiring process can be pulled out of it, and we can leave that community profile up, so we'll get that on the website once it's
Nice.
finalized.
Excellent. That'll be a great improvement of the website. Yeah.
Replacing that bit Dan O'Neill wrote decades ago or whatever.
No, I think it'll be in there with it. It's a community profile, not that there's a section of history in it, but it's not town history.
Yeah, I thought it was very well.
Yeah, it was it's sharp.
Can you share that with those of us that haven't seen it? Or do we need to wait till a meeting?
No, I can show you.
Yeah,
Apparently
because
it's
I get sent the emails.
Oh, because you guys are on the committee.
I'm not on the committee, but they send it to me.
Okay. I will get you a copy. Anybody else that didn't see it?
I was here.
Okay. The one thing that is going to come down to the board, well, eventually is you guys accepting all of it, but the salary range for the new manager. So the manager's salary was not ranked in the paying classification plan that we did at the end of last year, which is an uncommon. Right now, we've got chiefs that are level 23. I'm a level 23. Public Works Director is a 24. It would make sense to me to, just for purposes of getting a range of salary, putting it at a 25. Mathematically, that range works out for 102,244 to 155,577 would be the range. The former town manager was at 150,430 for base salary. Somebody with 40 plus years of experience. So if you would like to think about that range or accept that range, that would be helpful to the committee in developing our stuff. I got the question that's been asked, and if I could just continue. So residency. What early on in this discussion was residency required, requested, recommended. Our attorney has told us that Supreme Court has shot down some residency requirements, even for town managers. It was always the understanding it's in their contract, so the Supreme Court has really shut those down. One of the ideas that came forth was a residency bonus or a residency kicker. So maybe they make $5,000 more for living in town versus not in town. Don't necessarily need an answer on that tonight, but it was one option for encouraging residency of the man. Mm-hmm. So those are the two things that will need to be decided on.
I think so.
Wasn't there also didn't we also talk about like a bonus for relocating?
Oh, a relocation.
If they relocate to Newport.
That was the other thing. It's a relocation stipend if they come to town. So we're not going to pay you to move to Sunapee.
So we don't have to discuss, we don't have to vote on that tonight,
We do
but
not have to
eventually
go- we will need to do that before the advertisement goes.
So, just a couple of things. I believe the 18th, they were planning to be ready for tonight, but not quite ready enough, as I got the gist of the emails today. So hopefully the 18th. If, on the 18th, do we know where that mathematical formula that you just gave, where does that fall within the region, within the state? Is that competitive? Is it, where do those numbers fall, I guess is where I'd be.
I think the
Because if
survey-
we did our own survey, because that wasn't included, correct? So if that wasn't included, can we do a survey of communities of like size or region to see where that number fits? Are we low or are we high?
I think that is competitive. The low end would be somebody just graduated with their MPA and it's their first or second job.
Is that what we're looking for in the...
No, we will look. I think it's right now. It's 5 years or 5 years of progressive leadership experience, or some words that way. So I think it's competitive. But I can do that study for you. Get that information.
we want to be competitive.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
So,
Did you have something, Jeff?
No, I was just going to say, the salary range sounded fun to me.
Yeah.
I was just curious if, while you can't, possibly you cannot put it in there as a job requirement, when you're looking at candidates, there will certainly be people who say we would like to relocate to Newport or not. Is that okay to choose according to whether they, I mean, is that a legality issue? Yeah, you want to move to Newport, we like you, we don't want to come in, sorry.
I wouldn't want to give the assumption to someone who may not otherwise be in the top tier that by committing to moving to Newport, we're going to bump you up.
That they
I'd
get the
rather have
job.
quality rather
Get the
than
quality.
someone.
But at the same point, we do want somebody who can get to town in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, if they're going to come from Salem, New Hampshire, up here.
I would think Salem is probably a little far.
Yeah.
My argument, it's funny, because the resident versus non-resident argument is just, it's fun to listen to, and it's fun to, I can play either side.
Mhm.
So if you say residency required, you've just eliminated any candidate, not any, the majority of the candidates who might live
Sure.
within 45 minutes to an
Yeah.
hour, because they're not going to be probably settled, they probably get kids in school.
Right.
So you've eliminated that circle. People like to be able to see you in Shaw's and say, hey, what is going on with that water leak on South Street? Or...
We love it.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
Everything is excellent.
So that's part of the, I want them here, I want them to experience the same tax rate increase, water and sewer increase that I'm dealing with. So it's an interesting dynamic, and it's a fun battle to try and fight against that.
So the mere mention of a potential for, salary incentive for residing here certainly plays right into that. It gives us some more latitude, possibly, if that is the way we decide to go, in salaries. And I know that's something that is being done, we're not just talking about here as a new idea. This is being done across the country, all over, so not a new idea, but certainly worth discussing.
How does Claremont get away with it? Don't they have it in their charter that the city manager has to reside in the
That's my
city?
understanding.
Hmm?
That's my understanding. I didn't apply.
But no one's challenged it in court yet, so it's working.
Right.
Are they aware?
Do they care?
Well, Paul, you had mentioned, we had a bit of a back and forth. At some point, I think we need to meet as a group to talk about where we are legally, the sewer thing, and what we may want to do, if do anything.
Sewer? Oh, you mean the access fees?
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we have a non-public session meeting tonight?
Would be non-public session.
Non-meeting or non-public?
Non-public, you don't have an attorney present. So 91A3, 91A, Roman 2, 3, E, litigation.
Oh, listen back. It's
Oh.
good.
Make a motion, we go to non-public under what Paul said for litigation.
Second? Second. Jeff?
Yes.
Jeff, yes.
Jeff, yes.
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 And just want to thank Riley for doing all this work for us, and you said you were off to school here.
Yeah, but she's going to continue.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to do the minutes, but
Okay.
I'm going to do it
Remote.
through, NCTV.
I just thought your minutes, the way you presented them,
Thank
was
you.
excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
Very good.
And my schedule allows me to come home sometimes for Monday night meetings. So I'm gonna plan my trips home around meetings. So
Wow.
I will be a
That's
stranger. So
Outstanding.
Thank you. Can't find anything better to do.
well, I mean,
So are you looking for a bonus for residency when you're here? Or?
potentially.
Couldn't hurt to ask.
Okay,
So
so
it is.
non-public.